Hi, I'm Bradshaw. This is my Project One RAD system, the unofficial guide to the UW Allen School. It answers student questions about CS course workloads, professor teaching styles, and Allen school advice, using a collection of real student reviews. Everything it says is grounded only in these documents. If it doesn't have info, it tells you instead of making something up. Let's see how it works. So I'm gonna put it up. So when I launched the app, I launched it from the terminal with python app.py, and then this loads my ChromaDB vector store and the embedding model. Once it's running on the localhost port 7860, I switch over to the browser and then I start looking at the radio interface. So if I copy paste my link in, this is what we get. And then so once I'm in my Gradio interface, um, this is one query that works well, which is what are the primary grading and lecture characteristics of Professor Kevin Lin's upper level courses? Um, so the answer is that his upper level courses like data structures have a grading system that's test heavy, with exams being the primary metric for a student's final score. The lectures are stressful and polarizing with a significant commitment required for daily participation, attendance, and coding projects, although these contribute comparatively little to the final score. It's retrieved from two text files, Professor Kevin Lin and Professor Mahmoud Hamid. Which I actually don't know why I'm getting the second one, but this is a pretty good retrieval because it maps almost completely from the first document, and it's very relevant to the question. Um, the second query that works pretty well is how does the project workload of CSE 323 compare to CSE 351, and what is the typical format of its assignments? So it says the workload is pretty big time commitment and it's more demanding than 351. The labs in 333 are a cool overall project, but 351 has a significant workload, representing a major shift from foundational programming and low-level systems with programming assignments that are generally the same from quarter to quarter. And it pulls from 333, 344, and 351, which are text files in my documents. Um, this one's a little bit harder for the RAG to get because it compares two different courses. Um, but it gives an accurate comparison that 333 is heavier. Um, but then he basically says that both of them are pretty hard, but the answer is still pretty relevant for the text that I have in the text documents. Um, so then the query that it struggles, it kind of fails on is like, what is the grading rigor like in 331? And what tools do students recommend for taking notes and writing homework? Um, so in this one it says in 311 the grading can be rigorous. The course involves a lot of nitpicky proofs. Students recommend using an iPad for taking notes. It retrieves it from Professor Kevin Lin in 311. Um, it nails the first part that grading is strict and nitpicky, but it misses the second part, which is that students recommend using latex or LaTeX to write homework, and that detail doesn't make it into the answer. This is because that recommendation to use LaTeX lives in a chunk that was ranked fourth by relevance, and I was using a top K equals to 3. So that chunk gets crowded out and never reaches the model. The right document was retrieved, just not the right chunk. It's a retrieval breadth limitation, not missing data, and then increasing my top K or refining my chunking would likely fix it. So this is my evaluation report for 5 questions that I ran on the model. Um, So 3 came back fully accurate, which is question 2, question 4, and question 5. So that was about CS 333 versus 351, the undergraduate research strategy question, and the career critical electives for cloud scale software engineering. Two of them were partially accurate, which was number 1 and number 3, um, including the CS311 LaTeX case I just showed, and which that was missed from the RAG answer, and then also one off topic. Well, not off topic, but just the Kevin Lin grading plus lecture style for number 3, partially relevant and partially accurate. I ran one off topic control question, which is best pizza place near the UW campus. The system correctly returns that it doesn't have enough info on it and no sources. So that refusal is important because it proves that the answers are genuinely grounded in my documents and not just on the model's training data. Um, yeah, so that's the unofficial guide for UW. It's a RAG pipeline that retrieves student reviews, cites its sources, and knows when to say that it doesn't know. The biggest win for me was the grounding and refusal behavior, like for the pizza question. And the main limitation is the retrieval breadth on multi-part questions, as well as the fact that I only have like 10 documents that don't have that much like text in them. So I didn't give my model a lot to work with. Um, but yeah, thank you for watching.